Left-handed justice. How could she leave him when he needed her most? Just steps away from death, she abandons him. The platform they built stood in the distance, surrounded by golden fields of wheat. There hadn't been a beheading in Yarmut in a generation. A man accused by 2 witnesses and found guilty of murder was executed by the sword. But it was rare that 2 valid witnesses were ever by the scene of a murder. Yiter was the lucky one. He looked at his cursed hand. In the land of the right-handed, anyone different was an easy pariah. He inherited his left-handedness from his mother, a Benjaminite. It was common enough within the tribe of Benjamin. Here, among the Judeans, the land of his father, he was teased ever since his playmates could talk. Lefty, lefty, they would jeer, as if just picking up a stone with the wrong hand was a crime. 2 Yarmut court officers walked him slowly towards the platform. A crowd lined the road from the courthouse to the executioner's block. People from the surrounding villages had come to see the spectacle. The angry teenage sons of Poshu came from Zanoach, with ripped tunics still mourning his death. Laborers from Bet Shemesh left the grape harvest to watch the spectacle. He was strangely proud of the large crowd of neighbors that arrived from Azekah. One of the officers at his side announced in a loud voice, "Yiter, son of Lachmi of Azekah, has been sentenced to beheading for the death of Poshu of Zanoach. He has been accused by Shivin and Ruman, also of Azekah, for the murder. If anyone has evidence otherwise, please come forward now." How he hoped to be saved. He had no love for Poshu, but he never wished him dead. Yiter tried to recall how his week had started, and how he ended up walking to his execution.
Poshu's messenger had arrived at my home on Sunday. We must talk about Shivan's field. Meet me at the tavern of Zanoah early tomorrow. His message read, Poshu was not a man to be ignored. At first light on Monday, I saddled me tired stallion and set out from Azekah. I rode past the city of Yarmut, nestled amongst the green hills, and reached Zanoach as the sun broke through the top of the Judean mountains. In the back of my mind, I knew Avital would be taking this road back home from visiting her parents in the land of Benjamin. Poshu sat in his usual corner of the tavern. Long ago, Poshu had demanded of the tavern keeper a sturdy chair to support his size. A long sword was sheathed on his left side. The tip touched the floor behind him. A dagger hung from his belt on the right. Poshu had a large cup of wine. 2 equally large cups, both emptied, sat next to the third one in his fat hands. "What kept you so long?" Poshu demanded as I approached his table. "I came as quick as I could, sir," I responded, eyes looking at the wooden beams of the tavern floor. "Well, sit down, Yiter. I don't have all day." I slowly sat down on the chair opposite Poshu, keeping the table and his temper at arm's length. "I have bought the vineyard of Shivan and his partner," Poshu stated. "Rumon," I added. Yes, Rumon. The vineyard west of the Azekah spring, the one bordered by the old olive trees on the north side." "What?" I said. "That's not possible. That's the collateral they gave me. I'm taking possession of the vineyard this week from them. They've defaulted on their loan 1 time too many. The court will award it to me without a doubt." "I bought that field," Poshu pounded on the tavern table, "and I'm getting that field." "You need to take up your claim with Shivan and Roman," I said. "They had no right selling it to you. They need to give your money back." "You and I know those fools don't have any money, and they'll yet pay for their deceit, but I will not take a loss just because you made a bad loan." "A bad loan? You were the one who made a bad buy. I have solid contracts to prove me ownership of those fields." "Let's make an agreement ourselves." Poshu put his hand out, urging me to sit again. "I will pay you half price for the field. That's a fair resolution." I did not sit down. "I'm sorry for your loss, Poshu. I'm sorry they sold you a field already spoken for, but I see no reason why I should lose as well. Even at full price, I would not be interested in selling." "Fool! If you don't agree to half, I will take the whole thing." "How?" says me. "Leave that to me." Poshu gulped down the rest of his wine. "Then we have nothing further to discuss. I walked out of the tavern.
The officer at his side interrupted his reverie as they walked closer to the platform. "If anyone has evidence otherwise, please come forward now," he repeated. Avital, where was she? She was by his side the entire trial. She kept saying that it was a mistake, that he was innocent. She had such conviction and such hate for his accusers. He was stunned by her ferocity. His beautiful Benjaminite bride, married less than a month and then thrown into this nightmare. Yiter could not have asked for a more loyal, trusting, steadfast partner. When all the evidence was clearly against him, she did not give up hope, did not stop believing. Where did she go, and why? She was so strong during the trial. The trial.
Shivan and Roman stood in the middle of the stone and timber courthouse. They faced the 23 elders sitting in long robes in a semicircle.
Rumon and I had been riding south from Bet Shemesh. We turned east at Yarmut towards Zanoach. We saw them arguing on the road outside Zanoach, Shivan said. Then they fought. Yiter pulled out a knife and stabbed Poshu with his left hand. Yiter then dragged Poshu's body to the side of the road next to the sheaves of wheat. We saw it all.
Several of the elders nodded their heads. One elder turned to another. He was found by the side of the road with a knife protruding from the right side of his torso, the elder said. A thrust only a lefty could make. The elder looked knowingly at me and... When did this occur? The middle elder asked. Midday, Rumon answered quickly, as the sun was high in the sky. Avital squeezed me right hand. They lie, she whispered fiercely. They will not succeed. We shall interrogate each witness separately to determine the veracity of their testimony, the elder announced. The next day the verdict was given. I was guilty of murder. Avital ran out of the courthouse without a word. Admit your fault! One of the elders approached Yiter as he neared the platform. Seek God's forgiveness so your death may expunge your guilt. I am innocent. Shivan and Ruman are lying. They want to get out of their debt and hold on to their land. They probably killed Poshu and are laying the blame on me. Masterful, actually. They get rid of their two creditors in one blow. The elder had heard it before and nodded, not expecting him to change his story. Yiter climbed the platform, resigned to his fate. The somber executioner sharpened his sword with a large whetstone. The officers tied him to the executioner's block. It was better that Avital was not here to witness his ignominious end. But how he missed her. One last look, one last touch would have been a comfort. Yiter, son of Lachmi of Azika, has been sentenced to beheading for the death of Poshu of Zanoach. He has been accused by Shivan and Ruman, also of Azika, for the murder. If anyone has evidence otherwise, please come forward now, the officer called out one last time. A grey mare galloped towards them. Yiter thought his heart would burst. It was Avital. She drove her horse as if Philistine horses were chasing her. Wait! She screamed. He's innocent! Don't touch him! The elder signaled to the officer and the executioner to stop. Avital rode straight to the elder. I have proof, she said breathlessly as she dismounted the horse. I have witnesses. They are right behind me. Shivan and Ruman lie. They did not see Yiter kill Poshu. They sought to incriminate Yiter in order to get out of their debt and hold on to their land. She pointed an accusing finger at the partners in the crowd. Officers of the court converged on the pair. How do you know? The elder asked. I have witnesses, Avital calmed herself. They saw Shivan and Rumon in Bet Shemesh midday Monday. There is no way they could have witnessed what they described. 2 horses approached carrying a middle-aged man and a teenager. They both still wore aprons. Yiter recognized them as the tavern keeper and his assistant from Bet Shemesh. They dismounted and walked to the elder. What do you know of the whereabouts of Shivan and Rumon this past Monday? The elder asked the 2. Well, they were sitting in my tavern, the older man replied, from mid-morning until early afternoon. They had a wild look about them. Shivan was excited, whispering, "We're saved, and this is it." Rumon said, "We've got to get our story straight. Those elders are sharp."
"You see," Avital interrupted. "It was impossible for Shivan and Rumon to be in Zanoah and witness what they claim. They were in Bet Shemesh at the time. Yiter is innocent."
"The girl is right," the elder proclaimed. "Yiter, you are free."
The officer untied the ropes binding him. He ran to Avital and embraced her.
"Shivan and Rumon," the elder continued, "you shall take Yiter's place. You shall be executed as you clearly plotted for your fellow."
"Let us leave." Together they mounted the grey mare and rode home to Azekah. Avital sat behind Yiter. He looked back to see the court officers binding Shivan and Rumon.
"You saved me, me love," he said. "How did you find the new witnesses? How did you know where they were?"
"Because I know who killed Poshu," she said.
"It was Shivan and Rumon. You proved it with the new witnesses."
"No, it wasn't them. They must have discovered the body after Poshu was killed. After they realised their good fortune, they dragged him to the side of the road so he wouldn't be found quickly. That would give them a stretch of time to implicate you."
"If it wasn't them," I asked, "then who killed them?"
It happened so suddenly." He could feel her trembling.
You saw it? You were there?"
He stopped the horse, dismounted, and helped Avital down to the ground. He did not let go of her hands. I was riding back to the mountain from Mimam. After I passed the Noach, I saw Poshu riding in my direction. I tried to avoid eye contact with him, but he recognized me. "You're Yitter's wife, aren't you?" he shouted. I could tell he was drunk, though it was only mid-morning. I gave him a wide berth as our horses reached each other. He stopped me and unsheathed his sword. He held the tip to my neck. "Not so fast, young lady. We have business to discuss. Let's talk here on the ground like civilized people." And he pushed the blade into my neck. So I got down. "Your husband is an arrogant fool, and you'll pay for his pig-headedness." "What has he done?" I asked. "He would deny me my land, so I'll take it from him." "How can you take land?" I asked. He said, "I've arranged to have some documents to show the land belonged to me before he received it as collateral. I'll have his land, but first I'll have his wife." He suddenly dropped the sword and grabbed me by the back of my neck. With his left hand, he gripped my right arm and bent it behind my back. It was so painful. He said, "Yiter will rue the day he crossed paths with me." He breathed on me and I could still smell the stink of him on my face. "Please don't," I begged. He twisted my arm further. My left hand, it fumbled against his side and I felt his dagger. I pulled it out of his belt and I thrust it into his chest. He stepped back, looking in shock at the dagger. Blood covered the jewels on the dagger. He then fell back, hands clutching the weapon sticking out from the side of his chest. And then I jumped on my horse and rode home as if he was still chasing me. Yiter's mouth hung open as Avital finished her story. "Avital, I don't believe it. All this time it was you? You were the lefty. You knew all along. And Poshu, that pig, he deserved to die. But why didn't you say anything?" I didn't expect Shivan and Ramon to accuse you, nor for the elders to find you guilty. Once they sentenced you, I knew I had to prove them wrong and had no time to waste. They'd said they'd ridden from Bet Shemesh, so that is where I searched. I asked everyone I met if they had seen them on Monday. I finally found the tavern keeper, and he remembered seeing them noon that day. I came back as soon as I could. And just in time. He hugged her. Avital pulled Yiter closer with her strong left arm. This has been Left-Handed Justice, written by Ben-Tzion Spitz, narrated by Jennifer Kahen.